Hey friends, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, just welcome. My name is Ty, or she's underscore a beauty on all platforms. Get ready with me today while we discuss the heartbreaking story of Mitrice Richardson and an update on her mother, Mitrice Sutton. Reminder that this is a calm space. So grab your skincare, your makeup, or if you're just listening, get cozy and let's talk about it. So with this case, I didn't plan on doing anything this deep so early on, but when I looked up the update, since I have heard about it a long time ago, it really touched my heart. It made me feel like I need to help keep this case alive, and I'm still gonna do my skincare, but I'm not gonna make that the focus of this video. I'm only going to do a little bit, but I really want to make sure I focus on helping reiterate what happened here and really give this story the respect that it deserves. Mitrice Richardson was born on April 30th of 1985. She was living in Covina, California. I think I'm saying that right. I'm not too sure. But growing up, her family said that she was sweet, she was loved, she had a curious mind, she was very wise, and she was the type of person that just always had a plan. They said she was very social, she loved to dance, she was in cheer, and they said that she was an all-around well-behaved young woman. Now, at the time of her disappearing, she was attending Cal State and she was studying psychology. In May of 2009, she graduated and she wanted to get her doctorate in child psychology, so she was really set on furthering her education. She was known for being a lot of fun, and what she did in her spare time was she was a go-go dancer, so she would do that in her free time or after school. And at this time, she ended up moving in with her great-grandmother Mildred in Watts, California. And she chose to help take care of her. She had a lot of love for her great-grandmother. They had a great bond, so it was kind of a perfect situation for the both of them. Miss Mildred was 91 years old at this time, and they usually did a weekly dinner together every Wednesday. They would sit down, eat, catch up. It was kind of a normal thing for them. On September 16th of 2009, they did not do their regular scheduled Wednesday dinners. She ended up telling Mildred that she had other plans. So they hung out until around 5 p.m. that day, and then she went on to go do what she planned to do. Now, she did have plans to go to the beach in Malibu, and it was about 40 miles away from where she lived. She went to this restaurant called Joffrey's there, and from what I read, it was a really nice restaurant. It was valet only, so by the time she made it there, the valet attendant had one other car to take care of before hers, so of course she had to wait her turn. And when he got back to go ahead and assist her with her car, he seen her sitting in his personal car. So that was a little off-putting. He seen her and was like, "What are you doing?" She didn't really say much. She just gave him her keys so that he could take her car. Even though she didn't say a lot, whatever she did say to him, he was not able to make out the words. He said it was hard to understand her. So she went into Joffrey's and she sat alone. She ordered a cocktail and she had a 6-ounce steak. And as she's eating and enjoying her alone time, she sees a group of people that she did not know and joined them and their dinner party. It's important to note that the group said that everything she was saying to them did not make sense, and majority of what she was saying, they couldn't really understand her. But the few things that she did say was, "Mother Nature is my mother," "She's from Mars," that she wanted to avenge the death of Michael Jackson. And they said that really the whole conversation with her was all over the place, and according to her family, this would not have been normal for her. The group that she joined into had settled their bills and they were trying to leave, and they said that she tried to join them. The restaurant manager ran after her and stated that she was trying to leave without paying. From here, everything kind of took a weirder turn. As they were trying to get her to pay her high bill, she stated that her friends had paid for her, which they didn't, and so they asked her to call someone to see if they could get a card number to settle the tab. She ended up calling her great-grandmother Mildred, which, reminder, she was 91, and Mildred was extremely confused by what was going on, and of course, again, she's 91, so of course she couldn't really help. It said that other people in the restaurant were offering to pay. One of the employees offered to pay. One of the random patrons that were there tried to offer to pay, but the restaurant manager didn't allow them to, and they were trying to get someone from Mitrice's side to pay. The restaurant manager ended up calling the police. So when the police came, she seemed even more nervous, and they did a sobriety test on her, and she was completely sober. She wasn't drunk. So they kind of were confused on why she was being so weird, even though she wasn't under the influence. And now they did go to her car to search it for anything, and they did find a little bit of Mary J. Got to be careful on these platforms with what you say nowadays. But they said they couldn't find her phone or her wallet. So they took her to Hill Station Police Department, and they towed her car to a lot nearby. Now, by the time she would have made it there, Mildred ended up calling her mom. Her parents are Mitrice Sutton, and her birth father name is Michael Richardson. Mildred ended up calling Mitrice. Mitrice ended up calling the restaurant for a better understanding of what happened, and then she was able to call the police station after. Now, I did hear the call between her and the police station, but basically what they stated was they explained to her what happened, and because it was so late, and based on how they explained her behavior was, she did not want them to release her. And she asked them clear as day, are you going to release her in the morning, or are you going to release her tonight? I live far away, so if you are going to release her in the morning, let me know and I'll make sure I'm there to get her. Otherwise, I will go ahead and leave for the road tonight, but I just want to be sure. And then she said to please do not release her in the middle of the night like this, because if she's not in her right mind, or if she's not in a state that she's normally known to be in, anything could happen. And she doesn't really know anyone out there in that area where she would have been taken. The police promised that they would keep her there, but they ended up releasing her at 12:30 a.m. around that time. Now, the police station was in a dark area. It was kind of secluded, and it would have been a little bit hilly, not too far down. And they let her go on her own. They did not call her mom or even Mildred to let them know that she was releasing her. So that was complete news to them. And Mitrice called about 5 a.m. just to check in, because again, no one ever called her by the time Mitrice was brought in, and they told her they let her go. So of course she was very upset, and they stated that she wasn't drunk, that she seemed fine. So because of that, they were not able to just keep her there if she wasn't drunk and nothing really was going on, in their opinion. And even though they did, tests or whatever to come to the conclusion that she wasn't drunk, she clearly wouldn't have been in a clear state of mind to be released out on her own, especially in the dark. Even if she was in her clear state of mind, why would you release her into the dark without her phone, wallet, transportation, not even offer her a ride anywhere, just told her she can go? That doesn't make sense to me. Her car was 15 minutes away at the towing place. So again, if she would have thought to walk to wherever her car was, she had no way to know where she was going. Said that they encouraged her to stay, but they didn't keep her. I guess if you want to go off law or rules, I'm not a law student. I don't know what they're allowed to do and what they're not. But in my opinion, if by law they didn't have a right to hold her like her mom asked, they could have at least called her mom and told her, okay, we have no real reason to hold her, so go ahead and be on your way. Regardless of what they say the law is, I feel like her mother was at least owed that. But yeah, so they claimed they encouraged her to stay, but her response was she had friends to go meet. And they claimed that she only had her keys and her ID on her. They stated that she called Mildred 4 times while she was in jail, but Mildred said that she had no record of her calling her, so there is no way to prove if that happened or not, or if they just said it. And of course, her mom wanted to make a report, try to get her reported as missing, because nobody's seen or heard from her, but they told her to wait. And in that audio that, like I said, I was listening to, they really debated back and forth with her mom on what could have been done or what could have happened and why she would need to wait 24 hours before making a legitimate report. They even said that she could have even caught a bus back home. But again, if it's a dark and secluded police station, she didn't have her wallet. She did not have her ID, unlike them claiming she did. And even if she did her ID, she did not have money to pay for bus fare. Why would it make sense for her to have caught a bus in the middle of the night? But again, going forward. So about 6:30 a.m., which would have been an hour after this phone call, the police station got a call from someone in Calabasas, which would have been 6 to 8 miles away from the police station. It was a rancher, and where he lived, it was a lot of land. And he stated that he saw a woman hanging out on his backyard, which again, with how much land he had, he stated that it would have took her a minute to get up there. It's not like she accidentally ended up there just passing by. She would have had to have gone out her way to be on his backyard. And when he asked her, what is she doing? Are you okay? She said, I'm just resting. Like, she was just, in his words, she seemed agitated and was like, I'm just resting. And she was gone after like 5 minutes. The neighbors around the rancher stated that they also seen her at some point in that morning, and that screaming was heard in the middle of the night, a little bit after the time that she would have been released from the police station. So it's no telling if that could have been her or someone else, but that's what they stated. So around 6 p.m., Mitrice called back to just check in and see if there has been any updates and see if she could go ahead and officially make that report. And they told her about the call that the man made 12 hours earlier, after she called the first time, and again, never told her about any updates. They didn't bring to her attention that somebody had seen her. So of course, she got upset. Again, why not call her mom? So after that, she basically had enough, and her family went to go look for Mitrice themselves. Now, the day before she went missing, her family did say that she was sending out a lot of weird texts. She went to her aunt's house the day before and hid her go-go business cards around the house. And on her uncle's windshield, she left a note stating, "Black women scorned." So again, it was just kind of a trail of just unusual behavior for her that led up to this point. So after the family came and tried to figure out what was going on, the case ended up getting transferred to the LAPD police station. We went to the rancher's house, who called earlier that morning, and they brought cadaver dogs to confirm if she had been there, which they did. They did track her scent around that backyard and not too far down. And they also went back to her car to see if there was any clues there. In her car, there was a journal filled with random writings and things that fell in line with the notes that she was leaving behind. They also found her wallet. They found her phone, which she couldn't have had with her when the police released her, so that was kind of funny. They were able to find both. Her mom stated that all of her cards would have been in her wallet, and that one of her main banking cards had over $2,000 on it. So if they really would have looked in her car when they came to arrest her, they could have paid her tab then and tried to help her call somebody to help her. But they were able to find that bag of Mary J in her car, but I'm not going to dig into that. Anyways, going forward, a psych examiner looked through her journal, and they determined that she was experiencing a bipolar disorder episode. So that would have explained her unusual behavior. Mitrice asked for footage from the police station just to get a glimpse on how she was acting the night that they released her. And conveniently, they told her no. They said that the cameras were for live monitoring and not specifically for recording. Okay, the family ended up hiring their own lawyer and had a press conference. and they called the police department out. They were stating that if it was someone else or a white woman or a person that they deemed was good enough to feed the special care and attention that would have been needed into, that this would have never happened, which I kind of agree. This kind of happens a lot where they see someone, they think that they're this type of person, or they go off a stereotype and they don't give them the care or handle situations for them the way they would for somebody else that they deem important. It's happened for years, and it continues to happen. But to continue.
Now, the sad part about it is this should not have happened. And the LA County Sheriff Department was grossly negligent. And the officers on that shift, grossly negligent in allowing her to leave and walk out without any form of communication with her family or friends. I will submit to you that if Mitrice Richardson's name was Lindsay Lohan or Britney Spears, she would not have been afforded the same treatment. She would have been treated with royalty, with a car. It's important for the public to know that when Mitrice Richardson became missing, the LA County Sheriff Department punted this case to the LAPD. Their argument was, since she lives in Los Angeles, LAPD should conduct the investigation, not the LA County Sheriff Department. That illogical argument would conclude that if I live in Los Angeles and I traveled to Boston and I was lost in Boston, would LAPD be responsible for conducting the investigation? LA County Sheriff Department had an obligation to conduct that initial investigation into the missing status of Mitrice Richardson. It is also quite important to know that the gist of this lawsuit talks about the mental disability that Mitrice Richardson had that night and forms the basis for why the Sheriff Department was negligent. The Sheriff Department should have held Mitrice Richardson, and they had the obligation to hold Mitrice Richardson, not only as a 5150 case, which gives them the 3-day hold, but under the American with Disabilities Act.
The police followed up with that, stating that she had no cognitive issues and that she was sober. So to them, they had no real reason for keeping her. But again, it's like that extra care. Like, if you're not going to keep her, fine, but make sure that she's getting somewhere safely. Make sure that she was able to make contact. So if she couldn't have reached Mildred, maybe offer to help her call somebody else, or maybe did a better search in her car for her phone. So sometime in January of 2010, her mom reached out to LAPD just to check in, and they advised that they actually did have footage of her the night that she disappeared, which nobody let them know. Of course, it took her to reach out, and the communication was just all over the place from all three ends, and it's sad. They said the footage was not outside, just inside, and 4 months had went by and nothing was done still. In the footage, it showed her leaving out the front entrance, and it showed a different officer leaving out the back entrance, but that didn't hold up to nothing because the officer was doing routes all night and had brought other people in, so he wasn't a suspect. But that was the only type of activity that happened around the time that she left.
I raised my child. I poured everything into her so that she can be anything that she wanted to be. And because of bad judgment, she's not here. She's gone. I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around an agency that would violate their own procedures. According to a report submitted by Sheriff Baca himself, it is their practice to release inmates when it is safe and prudent. However, when I posed that question, not only to their attorney and to their lead commanding officers, please explain to me what was safe about releasing my daughter at 12:38 a.m. in the middle of nowhere in a city that literally shuts down after 9 a.m. with no means to protect herself. She would not even be able to get her vehicle until business hours of that day. It's 12:38 a.m. in a very remote area that is full of steep canyons and cliffs and debris and just very terraneous, not to mention the wild animals. What was safe?
On January 9th, they formed a big search party, mostly of her family and volunteers, and they searched that whole area where she would have been seen last. 3 weeks later, her dad, Michael, came into town, and he thought he seen her in traffic. He yelled out to her and she kind of just ran off. But that was kind of it on that. There were other people that were calling stating that they seen her in casinos, and none of that really held up to anything. So Mitrice ended up filing 6 different claims against the police department June 6th of that year. 2 of the claims were for negligence and the others were for wrongful death, wrongful release, just claims against them doing everything wrong, which again, I agree. So August 9th, around 1 p.m., Malibu state rangers were hiking down the dark canyon, which would have been a few miles away from the rancher's home. And now dark canyon, again, is really hilly. So it's like if you're on one side of that, it could look like a drop. If you're going up the other side, you can kind of see better. But again, you have to be super careful when you're in areas like that. And they ended up finding a human skull and clothing was found nearby. And what's even worse was that police department didn't reach out to Mitrice or Michael or her family. They found out from journalists. It was a journalist who made her family aware of these remains and the fact that it was in the area where she would have been seen last.
I want to make a personal appeal to law enforcement and to the coroner's office to please not leak information before you have contacted me, the mother of Mitrice Richardson, to give me preliminary information about these bones. This is my baby that I've raised. This is my life. She's my future that I've bred. Give me the courtesy to make me aware so that I don't have to learn about the possibilities of these bones through reporters. That is devastating to me. That is devastating to Mitrice's family. We deserve better than that. We deserve the compassion of being spoke to firsthand.
And by August 12th, those remains were confirmed to be Mitrice's. Dental records confirmed that it would have been approximately 6 months of them being out there. And 2 days later, an in-depth review board stated that they didn't think the department was responsible and that they did everything right. And to make it more upsetting on why this board thought that that police station did everything right, the police ended up removing the remains from the scene before a proper investigation was done. And they claimed it was because it was getting dark and they didn't want animals to go after it. But again, if it's been sitting out there for a while anyways, and the animals didn't bother it then, why would they choose to bother it now? They also stated that the coroner told them that it was okay to do so. However, the coroner advised in response to that that was a lie, and they never told them to touch the remains. They specifically said to leave it there so they can give it a proper examination and properly be able to scope the area to see what could have happened. But of course, they didn't allow that to happen. Nor did they check her clothing that was left behind. They never sent her clothing articles to a crime lab to be tested for any DNA or anything. They just took it. So after all that was said and done, the coroner ruled the death undetermined as there was no proof of foul play. Police decided to re-examine the entire case, and they re-examined her remains, and they still came to the conclusion that there was no foul play. There were multiple lawsuits for them letting her out early and making this basically the end result for her, which was just not right. They were awarded $900,000 in 2011 from the LA County. They really took no accountability. They just rewarded the family for the death and stated they will reevaluate their procedures for the future. And that's really it. There hasn't been any update. There hasn't been any closure to this story. It's been nothing. Just a young woman left on her own with no rhyme or reason, just on her own. And it's like they didn't even care. Her mother felt really strong about this. I mean, as she should, as her mother, right? She continued to be the voice for her daughter. She continued to advocate for her daughter no matter how much time went by. And sadly, Mitrice Sutton passed away last year. She passed away September 12th of 2025. And when I read that, I've seen this case before. I've heard about it in the past. This isn't a new story to me. I just wanted to get an update. And when I seen that, I cried. Like, it broke me down because she never gave up on her daughter. And you know, stories like this that kind of die down over time. And I said I wouldn't touch on anything that's going to hit so deep and bring like any type of emotion like this, because you know it's early. But when I seen that, it was no reason for this. But it's stuff like this that have to get emotional sometime. So with that being said, all I can say is I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to her family. I'm sorry to Mitrice and Mitrice. That police department ought to be a complete shame of themselves. I've always been a spiritual person, don't get me wrong, but I've been strengthening my love and my connection, and old me would have just wished them whatever. I'm not going to even give them dust for this. However, I really hope and pray that they are okay and that they come to some resolution for this. They get some type of closure for this, whether it be now or in the future. And I hope that Mitrice and Mitrice are reunited and happy and just watching over their families, being proud of all the people that they've been with and loved their whole life. So I hope that I made them proud by telling their story. And I hope anybody that's watching this know that if you are experiencing anything out of your normal, don't be afraid to reach out to your friends and your family for help. Whatever anybody is going through, just know that it'll be okay. And whatever you choose to believe in, you keep that strength in that, and just be cautious. That's all I can say is be cautious, be safe, be aware, and don't be afraid to reach out for help. And just love your family. Hold them close. Tell them you love them all the time. But yeah, like I said, I felt it in my heart, whether I felt ready to tell this story or not. I felt like it needed to be done. And again, I hope that if any of the family sees this video, that I did them justice. So as always, thank you for giving me your time today. I appreciate all the support and growth that I've been getting on this new journey. Please leave a like, share if you enjoyed this video, leave a comment, even if it's just something nice. I would greatly appreciate it. Subscribe if you enjoyed this Get Ready With Me / true crime storytelling type of content. And whether you just listened or if you got ready with me in any kind of way, remember that you are gorgeous. And I will see you all next time.